Hello and welcome to the Killgem podcast. I'm your host, as ever, Luke Oddy. On today's show, we're talking fly control, and in particular, the Chameleon Qualis, which is branded as the next generation in LED fly control. Joining me to talk about the brand new product is Maike Schmitz, International Sales Manager for PestWest Electronics. Maike, thank you so much for joining us. I've been looking for an excuse to get you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really looking forward to your questions and to tell the audience a little more about our latest innovation.
Fantastic. Before we get on to talking about the Chameleon Qualis itself, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been working in fly control?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I joined PestWest over 3 years ago after a career in retail. And so far I've been having a really great time working for the company. In general, it's quite a niche industry in comparison to, for instance, retail, but I'm lucky to have been working with amazing people. I have great customers, so all good so far. Thank you.
So you mentioned PestWest Electronics there. So that just specializes in fly control then, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. So we are part of the Killgem group and have 4 offices all across the globe. Actually, we have our 30th anniversary this year. So been around the block a few times, the company. We are the leading manufacturer for fly control and also for the relevant consumables such as glue boards and tubes that are needed for it. So what we got to offer is expert knowledge, professional products, easy maintenance, and an appealing design. And basically we think that fly control doesn't need to be ugly or dirty or anything like that. Many of our units are very decorative and actually look like a unique and appealing lamp. So nice designs for front of house use as well.
We'll come into the sleek design of the Qualis itself, but happy 30th birthday to PestWest. I'm not quite there yet, but I think 30th birthday means all your best years are behind you, right?
Well, telling from personal experience, I had my 29th birthday for the 3rd time this year. So all good, I guess.
Okay, so let's talk about the Qualis then. Where exactly is it suitable for use?
So generally, the Qualis does cover an area of up to 120 square meters, meaning it can be used in various different environments. You can use it in a kitchen, supermarkets, shops, restaurants, warehouses. So it's made for multi-purpose use.
So the actual product itself then, it's not exactly a zapper, is it? It's more, the light is an attractant and then the glue board gets the flies. Is that correct?
Exactly. So that means it is also very suitable for any food manufacturing or anything that is having to do with food and open products, because there won't be any contamination. As you rightly said, the insect will be caught on the glue board. So no wings or legs coming out of it. And also with the Qualis and its particular design, you do fold the bottom of the sticky board, which means that in case anything would fall down, it would be stuck to the board as well. So happy days for no contaminations and safe food environments.
So I think one of the particular selling points of the Chameleon Qualis is its LED technology, the Quantum X LED technology. Can you tell us a little bit more about the tube itself then?
Yes, absolutely. So our tube, in comparison to what's mainly out there on the market offered by the competition, we have tubes and not LED strips with little spots. So our unique tubes, they have 432 little LED spots per tube. So it's quite a lot, actually, if you think about a unit containing 2. And in addition to that, our unit would have a 360-degree light output, with it being a tube and not a spot. They have 120 degrees. You would now probably think, okay, does that really make a difference? Indeed, it does, because several studies and a lot of research that we carried out that with the 120 degrees, the light output is quite harsh and it is very bright, which on the one hand is not as attractive to the flying insect. And on the other hand, if you think about the person who has to work in the surrounding area, for instance, in a factory, it is also very harsh, and having to work next to it for 8 hours is not necessarily, the greatest working experience. So therefore, that is quite a big advantage for humans as well as the insects being caught.
So you talked about the coverage there. I guess in terms of its size, how does it range compared to other fire control units in terms of its size then?
So our main selling unit, which is the Chameleon 1x2, does cover an average area of 90 square meters. Meanwhile, this unit would cover up to 120 square meters. So yeah, basically it is quite a strong and powerful unit for its size. I mean, what I have to say though, these references are always under ideal conditions. So that means not many competing light sources, a good overall hygiene standard, and so on and so forth. On our website, you could also find the siting guide, which gives you a little more insight how to place a unit, where to place it. So if you follow these steps, then the 120 square meters can be reached and covered by one unit.
As is with most new products that are coming out now, there's always an eye on environmentally friendly and sustainable. I know this product itself doesn't use mercury, and aren't the tubes longer lasting? Is that correct?
Yes, that is one of the main environmental aspects. So in comparison to our quantum UV tubes that we've been selling for many years, these will last 36 months, meaning 3 years instead of 12 months. 1 year. So you have 3 times the lifetime, meaning in terms of waste, you do reduce it as you don't have to change them every year, meaning you will be more sustainable. And also that leads me on to my next really important point, the energy consumption, which is in terms of environmental concerns, also a really big point. So in terms of comparison to competitor models, our unit would use 35% less energy, and also a lot less in comparison to regular fly killers. So it will help protect the environment, but also save a lot of money for the customer in terms of energy costs, which are on the rise. Let's be honest about that. It's not getting any cheaper.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, because I think to your layman or your regular pest controller, I think one would be worried about the power consumption. As you said, this is a lower power consumption, isn't it? So you can keep, are they recommended to keep on all the time, 24/7, these units?
Absolutely, 24/7, because insects are also very active at night. And if you only were to use them for a few hours, then you would not have the good attraction and also not as much retention as you would have if you follow the recommended period of use. And having it run 24/7 obviously can be costly if it does consume a lot of electricity. Also for our pest controllers, it's a good selling feature to say, okay, you buy a new product which is a full metal construction, which is a high quality product, meaning you don't have to replace the unit as such. And then also it will help you save energy costs, which is definitely something to look out for these days.
You talked about the 3 years lifespan of the tube itself. In terms of the glue boards, is that just a case of when you see them having too many flies and then you take them off, or is there a recommended certain amount of time to keep glue boards in terms of keeping their stickiness?
Yeah, basically overall we do recommend an average change time from 6 to 8 weeks. So every 6 to 8 weeks that you schedule a visit. However, if it is an area where you have an infestation, for instance, then we do recommend to do it more often, and also during the warmer months. And let's presume you do produce smoothies or fruit juices where you naturally will have more flies than, for instance, in a warehouse where you just store paper or bricks, then that would be more than that, and would also be possible via looking at it, taking control of what's actually going on site. But the good thing about this new glue board is that it is 12% larger, meaning its surface offers you a better catch rate and will catch more insects over the duration that you got it inside the unit.
Fantastic. I know you kind of alluded to this earlier by talking about it's a 360-degree beam rather than a 121, and you're talking about how its consumption is 35% less. But how else does it compare to alternatives from competitors then? For people wanting to get into fly control, pest controls, why would they choose this over a different product?
Well, as we initially mentioned, 35% less energy consumption than the competitor models, higher insect attraction because of a different kind of light source, highly developed technology. So our unit, when we came up with it, we wanted that all our components are perfectly in tune with each other, meaning this new glue board, yes, it does offer a larger surface, but in addition to that, it does offer a different kind of glue, because with the regular standard UV lamp, you would always have a bit of a warming, which then makes the glue very sticky. You wouldn't have that with LED because it just doesn't warm up. It's just not what it does. So that was actually the main reason why we invented this new glue board, so that it's still sticky, even though the temperature isn't there. Therefore, it's still retaining the insects, because, it's not any help if they're getting off again and, are not being caught. So these are some of the aspects. And in addition, our unit is having a full metal construction, which will make it A, more reliable, and B, more sustainable, because it won't break as much, and even beyond our warranty, it will last for the customer. Also then generating less waste. And in terms of other benefits, I think it's important to mention that our products are very easy to maintain and that it is a tool-free maintenance. So when you're having a full, let's say, warehouse to service, you don't want to bring 5 different screwdrivers and all sorts of other tools in order to service the traps. Our Chameleon Qualis, you just open it up, and you pull out the board, change the board, and you close the lid again. So it's very simple. It takes less than 2 minutes, so you can work very efficiently there. And what we're always aiming to do is to offer as many units using the same consumables. So, for instance, referring to our Chameleon range, we're having multiple units that can use the same glue board and the same tubes, which is what we're aiming to do with that one as well, because as the future is with LED, we are aiming to have an entire portfolio and many more additions to the LED range come next year and the year after. So we will follow our principle that the new models will also be able to use these consumables, which means the pest controller can save warehouse capacity and can also save money. Basically, you don't need to equip every one of your technician with 5 different tubes and 5 different boards and 7 different other parts, keeping it simple but on a high quality level.
I know in your position as international sales manager, you probably deal more with business side of things and selling products to businesses. Have you noticed any sort of rise in pest controllers, like wanting to move into the fly control sector?
Yes, I mean, we fairly recently, actually this week, had a workshop in the Benelux region. It was a very good time and a very great experience. And there were some customers who were mainly focused on other aspects of pest control, for instance, bird proofing or bed bugs. But some of them came to my stand and were quite interested in it, as there is such a high demand from the end user to offer products with LED. So they may have not used many of our previous models, maybe, the odd job, because they just focus on other things. But now the demand is there. I think there's definitely more to come, because everyone is really looking at environmentally friendliness, which, of course, is good for our planet at the end of the day.
If a pest control listening to this had actually already got one on order, how can they get the most out of it? I know we talked about the dimensions of it being 300 by 575, and it's just over 3 kilograms. So is there a position on the wall it needs to be put? Would you recommend more than one in a certain room? What about that sort of stuff?
Well, I would say it pretty much depends. I mean, I'm not meaning to be very vague here, but every situation and every environment can be quite unique. So if you follow the recommendations on our sighting guide when it comes to height, competing light sources, etc., you have a very good guidance, but you may find yourself in a situation where you need more than one just because of how the room is being outlaid, basically, so that you have more corners, multiple different areas even within one room. But yeah, coming back to your question, if you really want to get the most out of particularly our Qualis or any of our units for that matter, it's important that you service them regularly. As previously mentioned, change the glue bus every 6 to 8 weeks, or even more often if the area where it's placed requires it. Change your tubes every 3 years with LED Quantum X, or every year if it is the regular Quantum range. You can use our maintenance videos that we have on our website to know what each unit specifically requires. And yeah, if you need any help outside from that, you can always reach us, me and my colleagues, via email, phone, Skype. We are on social media platforms. And if anybody would require more support on site, or for instance, it's a new building, like a new factory, for instance, and wants any of us to come on site with them, basically to support or to recommend where to place something or which unit to use from our portfolio, then by all means, give us a shout, reach out, and we're here for you.
Fantastic. And this is a question just for me, really, in terms of colours and designs, because I quite like them. Does it only come in white for now? Is it going to come in any different colours?
Well, at this very moment, it's only in white. It's the first model, but there will be a stainless steel version later on next year, and also different kind of models. For instance, something that's more decorative for front of house use, hospitality sector, and also specialist units like X-rated, IP-rated. So yeah, for every need, the right unit, just with LED, where we see the future.
I think definitely over the last 6 months, I've seen more fly control presentations and products, and definitely seems to be an increased appetite from pest controllers to sort of look more into fly control. I think they see it as an extra string to their bow, and it's definitely an avenue for extra profit, really, and more business. So thank you very much, Maike, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, you're most welcome. Qualis 2.0 next time. Have a good evening, Luke. Thank you for having me.
With us approaching the end of the year, I know a lot of you will want to register your listenership to the podcast in order to earn CPD points. So for those of you with Basis, the code that you'll need for this episode of the podcast is Bravo Alpha Delta Golf Echo Romeo. Thank you once again to the Maike for joining us. That's episode 22 of the podcast done. We will get to 24 before the end of the year. We're going to have Tim Bloomer back for a couple more tales of the unexpected. So until next time, see you later.